This is Encounters with Jesus, Life-Changing Stories, the podcast edition with Pastor Ian Sweeney. Through this series, we will explore the book of Psalms with the hope that you will be blessed and you will grow with your encounter with Jesus. Thank you for joining us today. And now, let's join Pastor Ian Sweeney.
I'd like to conclude the message where we asked the question yesterday, where is your faith? Now you might remember, in closing yesterday morning, I shared that we should not test God's protection over us by demanding that He demonstrates His power to us. Even as the ancient Israelites, we should not demand that God provides water in the desert, or by jumping off the roof of the temple, or by exposing ourselves to coronavirus, or by bringing poisonous snakes into our church services so we can be bitten and healed, as is the custom and tradition and belief in some Christian communities, certainly in the United States. God is not to be tested. We demonstrate our lack of faith when we feel the need to test God. I'm in no doubt this morning, God is all powerful. He does not need to prove anything to me. He doesn't need to prove himself to me. He doesn't need to prove or demonstrate either his care, his protection, or his power through some kind of test that I might put together. You see, what the devil did with Psalm 91 is what some of us are doing with Scripture today. Yeah, you heard me right. Some of us are doing what the devil did. We quote, we use a passage of Scripture to test God. But because we're using Scripture, we think that we're doing God's will or God's bidding, or that we're in accord with God's way. Now, of course, none of us would admit that we are testing God. Rather, here's what we do in the UK. We spiritualize it by saying, well, I'm just claiming the promises of God. But that's exactly how the devil misused Psalm 91. Now, as I shared yesterday, Psalm 91 has been a favorite psalm for exorcists. But it is so much more than just words for a religious ritual. Psalm 91 should be one of our favorite psalms because it is truly a psalm for our coronavirus pandemic world. This psalm contains a message of comfort and hope for us as we pass through this current time of trouble, full well knowing that a future time of trouble is yet to come. Now let me say, Psalm 91 was never meant to be a universal promise of medical protection from viruses, cancer, plagues, and illnesses for all believers. However, this is not to suggest that Psalm 91 has no application for today, but it is not a universal promise of medical protection. You see, we need to understand what Psalm 91 is and is not saying. You see, Psalm 91 is not saying the people of faith will never have trouble. This itself is conceded in Psalm 91. When you look at verse 15, where God promises to deliver people of faith, God said, I promise to deliver my people out of trouble. Which means to say they are going to be in trouble at times. God can't deliver us out of something unless we are in something. Some of us want a Christian experience where we're never in, we're always out. God says you're going to have to be in sometimes for me to pull you out. Now, in the very life of Jesus, who did not test God by jumping from the roof of the temple, there were times in his life when it appeared he and his disciples were, I can only describe it as being invincible. So, for example, immediately following the testing by Satan, crowds attempted to throw Jesus off a cliff. You read that in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, verse 28. But miraculously, God saved him. My favorite Christian author said that, God actually made him invisible. Jesus. With Jesus' disciple, Peter, they both at one point walked on water. Matthew 14. They didn't drown or see the need to swim or have a life rope thrown out to them. Later, Peter was imprisoned, then walked out a free man. Acts chapter 12 is seemingly invincible because an angel intervened and opened up the prison and set him at liberty. The Apostle Paul at points sometimes appeared invincible. He survived stoning in Acts chapter 14. He survived a shipwreck in Acts 27 when he should have drowned. He survived being bitten by a poisonous snake in Acts chapter 28. And I share this to say, there are times when there are evidences and there are clear times in which Psalm 91 is displayed to be literally true in this life, where we, God's people, are protected and kept safe. No doubt about it. But as I've said, it's not universals. And more than that, these times are often demonstrations, or these demonstrations of protection, of being saved from drowning, from the bite of a poisonous snake, from stoning, etc., etc. Sometimes they are merely a shadow of the ultimate protection that God offers to the one who dwells in the shadow of the Most High. Because Jesus, who was saved from being thrown off a cliff, we know he died a cruel and violent death on a cross. Now that's not because he did not or could not claim the promise of Psalm 91. Peter, who walked on water, who was freed from jail. Peter, it's commonly believed, died by being crucified upside down. Now, his crucifixion was not because he did not or could not claim the promise of Psalm 91, or that somehow he failed God in claiming its promises. Paul, who was stoned and saved. Paul, who was shipwrecked but didn't drown. Paul, who was bitten by a snake but didn't die. It is understood he was martyred during the time of the Roman Emperor Nero. Again, he died. He was martyred not because he did not or could not claim the promise of Psalm 91. Sometimes we're saved today, but that doesn't mean to say we will be saved tomorrow. And sometimes we are saved for today because God knows we're going to have to go through the tomorrow. Present Psalm 91 experiences of rescue from death or from physical harm are not the end in themselves. They are proleptic or prophetic anticipations of something greater and more complete to come. We can lose our lives now as part of the tragedy that is coronavirus and yet still look forward to immortal life because we dwell in the shadow of the Most High. You see, the ultimate reality of Psalm 91 will not always find expression in the here and now, the today. But understand this, God's word is true and never, ever fails. God may save us today, but we might lose our life tomorrow. God may save us from an illness today, but another illness may take our life tomorrow. Being Psalm 91 is not a universal declaration of protection from birth to immortal life, but it is a promise that finds its fulfillment in our experience in and when God chooses it to be so. COVID-19. It caught us by surprise. It caught the world by surprise. But let me tell you who it didn't catch by surprise. God. Psalm 91 does not guarantee that no evil will befall those who trust him. Psalm 91 does not guarantee that those who make the Most High their dwelling will not experience difficulties. However, all who find refuge in Christ will live with the confidence that whatever happens on earth, it's all with his knowledge. Because nothing happens on earth outside God's knowledge, outside of God's will. Now, I don't know if you've been awake enough, because I've only intimated this. But I've already intimated that Psalm 91 should be especially loved by Seventh-day Adventist Christians. Why? Because it contains a message of comfort for all who pass through times of trouble and for those who shall experience the time of trouble and the perils of the last days. My favorite Christian author, her name's Ellen White. She commented in respect to our future experience in the time of trouble in a book entitled The Great Controversy, page 629. Here's what she wrote. The people of God will not be free from suffering. Let me read that again, because I know you didn't quite catch it. The people of God will not be free from suffering. But while persecuted and distressed, while they endure privation and suffer for want of food, they will not be left to perish. That's what she wrote. We're going to suffer. We're going to endure privation, suffer. We're not going to always be able to eat as we would wish, but we're not left to perish. You see, there is no limit to God's protection. And he has full authority over all things that happen on earth. No power in heaven or earth is greater than that of our God Jehovah. So here's the response. Here's the appeal of Psalm 91. Here's what we need to be doing. We need to take the invitation of Psalm 91, the way it begins right there. Normally when we talk about, as preachers extending an appeal or an invitation, we do the appeal at the end of the message. Psalm 91, those song lyrics, it goes the other way. The actual appeal comes at the beginning. It starts with the appeal. The appeal is right there. Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. That's the appeal. We are to dwell in the secret place of the Most High. God has been calling us through these past days in the morning encounters with Jesus series, in the evening encounters with Jesus series, across the sites, across the Cayman Islands. God has been calling us to place ourselves in the shadow, in the presence of God Almighty. You see, it isn't about, when things go rough, I need to go into God's presence. No, whatever happens, whatever we're going through in our lives, Psalm 91 is saying we need to be in his presence. We need to dwell in that secret place. We need to abide under his shadow. We need to make him our refuge and our trust. That's the appeal. That's the purpose of the encounters with Jesus. This isn't about, I just want to be rich. I just want money. I just want a job. I just want a husband. I just want a wife. I just want a child or children. It isn't about getting stuff. It's about being in the presence of a God who is greater and more meaningful than all of the stuff he could give us. Psalm 91 is an appeal. It's a call. It's saying God has a secret place for us, a place for us where we can dwell. When you're in the place of God, and when you know God for being who he is, a God who is bigger than you and I, greater than you and I, when you're in that secret place, when you are in that shelter, the worry and the anxiety that we come into life with and that we live in and through our lives, the worry, the anxiety in the presence of God looks so feeble, so impotent because of the greatness of God. Stepping into the secret place of God is to be our place of worship and trust in him. The secret place doesn't need church buildings to be open. In the United Kingdom now, right still to this point, we can't come together in our churches as we would wish in the numbers that we once had. We can't do that. But that doesn't stop us from being in the secret place. That doesn't stop us from finding our shelter in a God who is our fortress and who is our refuge. Church buildings are not our trust. Church buildings are not our Savior. God is. I want to be in his presence. I want to be in God's presence. Not because of the stuff he has. I want to be in his presence because of who God is. Psalm 91 is telling us, he's telling me, I don't need him to prove his love for me. I don't need it. I don't need to test God. God has given ample demonstration in my life of his greatness and his goodness. I want to be in God's presence, in his shelter, in his shadow, whether I test positive or negative for coronavirus. I want to be in God's shelter, in God's shadow, in God's presence, whether I have a lot of money or I am broke. I want to be in God's presence, whether I have a job or I lose my job. I want to be in God's presence, in his shelter, in his shadow, in his presence, because I love him. And he is, without any shadow of a doubt, an almighty God. So my appeal, or God's appeal, it's not mine, it's God's appeal, to each and every one of us here who are listening, who've tuned in this morning. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge, my trust, my God. In him I will trust. There's the appeal. God saying, come into my presence. People across these beautiful islands that are the Cayman Islands, God is appealing, saying, come into my presence. Come into my presence. Come into my shadow. Make me your trust. Whether you're going through good times or bad, just make me your trust. May I be the person, the God who you just want to ever be in my ever-present self. Let's come encounter Jesus by being in his presence for today and indeed forevermore. Amen.
Thank you for joining us today. For more episodes and information, visit our website at caymanadventist.org or call us at 345-949-2647. That's 345-949-2647.